Hello, all. God bless you. May God go before you, behind you, within you, all around you, and give you peace. If you're watching this, maybe this is for you. But I'm just going to share, I don't know if I would call it a testimony, but something that happened to me while I was at, at my job. I'm over here working my own business, and this man, his eyes are like extremely black. Um, he asked me, um, do I like suffering, or do you think people should suffer? And I'm like, okay, Lord, here we go. What now? What now? Because yeah, at this point, with the extremely black eyes, obviously there's something else going on. This is not fixed to be a normal interaction. And what I said was that to suffer is to live. And he says that, no, I don't want to suffer. If I had a choice, I wouldn't suffer at all. And I'm like, so you don't want to live? And this sparked a discussion into the fact that this gentleman is an atheist. And I'm like, huh. And more silly folk, more dumb people. Like I'm a straight shooter. Um, and I said that I'm making this video basically to, let you know that you don't have to be intimidated, and everyone would do well to be studied in their faith. So, um, I'm working, and as I work and come back, this conversation starts up again. And I said nothing grows without some form of pain or suffering, from plants to animals to human beings. There's always some type of pain, some type of stress put on said thing for it to grow. And and this causes him to pause, and then he switches to another topic, right? These people are fake intellectuals. They're in their own silly group to call themselves, intellectual and smart when they're really dumb. And then another conversation that we had was about dinosaurs. And I said, God made the earth in 7 days. So, no, I do not believe that dinosaurs and human beings did not coexist. I'm not dismissing I'm not dismissing the fact that, dinosaur bones are there and everything else. But I do believe as though the numbers in which they put out for you to believe are coming out of their ass. Sorry, I know the language, but these numbers are just coming out of people's butts. I'm not disagreeing with, the fact that these things are real, but the timeline, the numbers, like, you going to believe the Bible, or are you going to believe, some math that people are making up as they go? And then once again, he switched to the universe. And I didn't get to make this point because some other things happened on the job and whatnot. But I'm going to tell you what I was going to say. Like, even that math, even that is flawed, because they keep finding new discoveries, and therefore having to, make up more math that can't really be verified as correct, because it's new. They're still made up theories. They're still theories. And his point was that we do know these things. We do know these things because math and physics and all of this kind of stuff. And I'm like, no, you don't, because there's still things that you discover, and you got to make up the math behind it. And I said to him that ultimately, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. I don't have that much unbelief, because this whole conversation revolves around self-preservation. Your God-given common sense innately makes you have self-preservation, and you have faith that the ground in which you're standing on isn't going to fall from under you. You have faith that your check is going to be there next week, but you don't have faith to believe in a higher power. All this organized chaos, from microorganisms to plants to animals, all this organized chaos, and you choose to believe that there is no God, or that, you know, there's no way to prove that. And, obviously, then the conversation shifted at, have I had my own personal encounter with with God? Obviously, yes. And that's not something, anybody can give or take away from you. It's your own personal experience. And he wants to say, well, I haven't had that. And then, the common trope, these are all common, gotcha questions that, atheists want to use for people that just don't think, not even deeply, but with common sense about what they believe. He wanted to talk about, rape and how people became into being. And I'm like, that's a moot point because you're here now. And he wanted to use some, how about Mary and how God created that and how that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, he's the creator. If he is the creator of everything, he can't create life out of nothing if he's not the creator. You see the silliness of it all, how they make these silly arguments that don't make any real sense. Either he's the creator of everything or he's not. And I said God exists outside of time because everything else expires. The higher power has to exist outside of time for him to be God. He can't exist within this time and space because everything that we know dies. And this body becomes worm food. And all that is left is your mind and your emotions or your soul. This is what I said. You can get into more in that if you want to. But your mind and your emotions are something animates this body. And then he wanted to, fix his mouth to talk about biology. And I said, no, I'm not denying biology. But what animates this body? You don't control your breath. You don't control all the functions. You don't have the capacity to control every function that your body does. So yes, while there is the biology of it all, what animates your body is God putting the breath in it. You don't control when you die. Your soul goes back to the creator and he decides whether that goes to heaven or hell. So once again, I don't have that much unbelief. I don't have that much faith in not believing in a higher power. I, care about where I go once this life is over, once this bag of flesh expires. And he wants to, obviously he's going to say that, yeah, that's all I am is a bag of flesh. And why did God, make me this way? And I haven't had that encounter yet. Like, I don't believe this mess that people are saying. These people just want to argue. And then once we had that conversation, then of course, here we go. Here's the good one, the Matrix. Then they want to start talking about the Matrix. Now you know that these people have lost. Don't let that silliness, I don't even know why it would trip you up. Don't let that silliness trip you up either, okay? There is no reset button on this life. There's a consequence to everything. So don't let that silly once again gotcha mess trip you up either. These people aren't smart. They don't have any legs to stand on. And by the end of this conversation, and he's all like, you're one of the few people that I've met that can actually argue their faith. And he pulled out the verse, I think it was Philippians, that he pulled out about, being able to defend your faith. So I don't know how much far or close he is to coming to Christ. I have no idea. I wasn't trying to evangelize anybody. I was just using common sense to answer basic questions. So don't be intimidated by these people with their silly, nonsensical questions. It's all common sense. It doesn't take that much to defend your faith. It doesn't. You don't have to know scripture, because I didn't even use any. I just used basic common sense. When you come across these people, and also, understand that most of the time these people are just chaos agents. They just want someone to argue with them. They want to belittle you and your faith because they're too afraid to believe in it for themselves. But yeah, and most likely, I'm sorry to say, somebody white probably told this. He was an older black gentleman, told him that mess. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to share that little funny story with you because I'm like, at this point, because every time I had an answer and a response to this, you know, he would have to pause and come up with another argumentative point, because I make way more sense than anything in which he would say. But God bless you all. If you made it this far, God bless you. But don't be intimidated um, by these kind of silly questions, because they all pretty much follow the same, you know, talking points when you come across people that call themselves atheists, because they know better. They do. They know better. It's just they want to be a part of their own little fake, faux intellectual club, because they want to try to outsmart something that I don't get it. I don't. I'm not trying to wrap my mind around their logic. But anyway, God bless you. Bye bye.